Hi, this is Amber Rain Davis from NotableInk.com. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be creating a cozy critter tag for Simon Says Stamp's fun and festive release. I had a great time with this tag and I hope you do too as you follow along. We're going to be using the Critter Sweater stamp set, which is from the Fun and Festive release, and Ugly Sweater, which is from a couple years ago, I believe. I started off by stamping the sweater on a stack of Post-it notes, and then I fussy cut out a mask. I wanted to be able to stamp a bunch of the different sweater layers on here without it getting on the back of the tag. So I die cut the tag first, and then I stamped the sweater onto the tag with Simon Says Stamp Barely Beige, then lined up my mask and started stamping these layers. There's quite a few of the different layers to create your sweater scenes or sweater backgrounds. And I didn't use all of them on this tag, but I just chose some that I thought would go together nicely and went ahead and started stamping those. After I stamped the first layer, I realized, well, I should probably go ahead and stamp the critter on there. So I'm just lining up his little bow tie. His face, nose, and eyes were stamped in Simon Says Stamp soft navy ink, and then this teal ink for his bow tie, I believe, is High Dive. Next up, I'm going to stamp some cheeks on this little guy with the little circle stamp included with the set, and I'm using Doll Pink Simon Says Stamp Premium ink there. Later in the video, I'm going to realize that my character doesn't have ears and then wonder whether or not these cheeks were supposed to be for ears or cheeks or both. I'm not really sure, but we'll tackle that when we get to it. So I've stamped another kind of like just vertical line stamp right there in Lakeshore's ink, which is a light teal. And then I'm using this other stamp with two pinstripes on it to stamp directly over top of that with Doll Pink ink. It just adds a little bit more interest in layering there. So I created a mask for his bow tie, just stamped that off onto Post-it note and went ahead and put that on. I added a touch more of that Doll Pink ink with that skinny dash stamp there. And then I'm going to add a layer of trees in between. So with the trees, that's AUDREY blue that I used for the trees. So at this point, I'm going to need a mask for our little critter's face. So I'm going to stamp him off and create a mask. And I'm just going to eyeball it. Obviously, he doesn't have an outline of his face, so I just kind of created what I thought might be a good shape there. I put it right over his bow tie, and I'll continue stamping, and that's going to leave just plain white cardstock underneath that around his face. So at this point, I'm going to repeat the pattern from the bottom to this stamp here, and I'm going to leave just a little bit of white space at the top so I can add some texture to the shoulders with a Copic marker. So once all the stamping is completed, I'm going to take a W1 marker and just do a line across that last layer, and then I'm going to do some stripes coming down. So that is your knit on your sweater. You usually have kind of thicker lines, vertical lines coming down on the cuffs, and I'm going to do that on the shoulders as well. I kind of lost the half moon shape of the neck collar there, so I'm just drawing that in with some white Jelly Roll pen, and then I'm going to accentuate the white stripes in between there with that same pen. For our critter's face, he also needs to have a sweater texture to it, so I'm using the chisel tip of my W1 marker, and I'm just doing little X's to create what looks like a knit. So I'm putting them close together and in horizontal lines, and they're just small little X's that create a knit pattern to his face. I wasn't too concerned about avoiding going over the pink or the blue because you would also be able to see the knit pattern in those areas as well. So now I'm just going into any of the areas where I felt like there was too much white without any texture, and I'm doing those same vertical lines. I'll go back in with the white jelly roll pen and add in the texture to those areas as well. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of shading to his cheeks and his nose with a W1 and W3 Copic marker. Actually, for the nose, I use a B99. And then I'm going to go over, I was going to just do some shading on his bow tie, but I didn't like how that looked, so I went over the whole thing with a BG49. And then I went ahead and die cut this out of the tag because I decided I wanted to pop it up to give some dimension, but I didn't want the white cardstock in between the arm and the body of the sweater, so I went ahead and fussy cut those areas out so that you would then be able to see the dark cardstock underneath it. So I am stamping it in Versamark ink for my sentiment. I'm going to white heat emboss that on a peacock blue cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. That's going to be my topper. This tag set is called Stitched Dress Up Tags. It's also by Simon. So I'm just going to put some foam adhesive on the back so that we can pop it up. And just curl that around. And I'll use my tweezers to get this lined up correctly. Before I do that, I'm going to put the topper on, and this is just Nouveau ink. I'm just putting dots of it in between those holes. I like the adhesive for things like this, or wet glue for stuff like that, because it gives you a little bit of time to move it around to exactly the right spot. So we'll pop up our sweater tag. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put it back on the tag. So I usually will do 2 layers of the base, not only to make it thicker and more substantial when you feel it, but also I feel like it gives a nice finished look to the back of the tag, because that's where I'm going to write my message. Then we'll get this popped up. So I like the placement of that. And here's where I decided he looked so funny without ears. So I don't know why my little guy didn't have ears. So I just took the W1 Copic marker and drew in some ears, and then to give it an opaque look, I used the Jelly Roll marker in the middle of it. And then I'm just going to put some details into the eyes and the nose with the white Jelly Roll pen. I also added some additional texture to his bow tie with the white pen. With the Dress Up tag dies, I went ahead and cut a small little tag with a heart in it, and that's to bring in that pink cardstock just one more time. So that's dull pink cardstock, there's AUDREY blue cardstock, and then the darkest blue is Peacock blue, all from Simon. We'll go ahead and connect those together with some natural hemp twine. Get that all nice and neat. And then here is the finished tag. So if you take a look at the ears, I decided I still didn't quite like the look of the ears. I went ahead and used some pink Copic on the inside of the ears, and then I cut a pretty pink posh marshmallow confetti piece and created some dimension to those ears, and I liked that so much better. I thought that had a much more finished appearance to it. So I really enjoyed making this tag, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, please hit the like button below, which is so helpful. Also subscribe to my channels. And here are a couple more videos from the Fun and Festive release for you to check out. Thank you so much for stopping by.